So when we were at the reunion, the last reunion, which was in 2009, I think it was, right? Uncle Yosh said to me that our mother had been married before, right? Well, this came as an absolute shock because no one had ever heard anything like this before, right? And I remember he didn't say anything more, like, that was it. That's all Yosh had to say, right? And I got in the car, there was your Auntie Pat and Auntie Susan and David and myself, and I told them, well, we almost went off the road. Everybody was absolutely shocked. Anyway, since then, what we found out was that this man, Ayashi Senda, was adopted, not formally, but sort of like informally adopted by your great-grandfather, right? And when you look at a really old family photo, you'll see him in there, right? And anyway, when he was 31 and your grandmother was 16, right? This was a forced, and then as far as she was concerned, marriage that was arranged by your great-grandfather. Some kind of family obligation, right? So anyway, your grandmother was very unhappy about this, if you can imagine, being 16, right? And we could not understand why they would marry her off at that age when she was the eldest and looking after the 5 other kids who were behind her, right? But obviously it was some kind of family obligation. Anyway, so they got married when she was 16 back in 1931. Okay? Anyway, he was a farmer, and off they went to his farm, I guess, right? But he had TB, and he died quite soon after, and she came home. I think that the marriage was less than a year, some very short time anyway, and she came home. Okay. Then she didn't marry your grandfather until she was like 22, 23. Well, that was the biggest shock of all, right? To find it. There were no children, right? Who knows if it was even consummated, right? Aunt Flo, when at the reunion, right, she's a quilter, and she had done this huge family quilt. And in the center of the quilt was a photograph projected onto fabric, right, of this famous family portrait, which had your great-grandfather, your great-grandmother, all of the kids, meaning, my mom, your grandmother, all the way down, all the kids, right, and this guy, this adopted, in quotes, son, right? Anyway, I look at this photo in this quilt, and I said to Auntie Flo, I recognize the photo, but there's somebody missing. That adopted son is missing. She goes, I airbrushed him out. And I thought, what was that all about, right? Who knows? Anyway, it was shortly after that Uncle Yosh told me, right? Uncle Yosh and Auntie Flo, they're married, right? Uncle Yosh told me about this first marriage, and obviously the kids, right, were behind your mom, your grandmother, right, and were very upset about this forced marriage, right? And so he got airbrushed out of the family quilt. Anyway, we have the marriage certificate. We actually have the death certificate. I don't have it, but I think that Karen has it, right? The death certificate. And then, of course, we have the marriage certificate of your grandmother and your grandfather, right? And that's the end of that story.